Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Among the many existing problems that the ongoing nationwide lockdown has highlighted is the problem in our public distribution system, or PDS. The system on which almost two-thirds of Indians rely on for food grains like wheat, rice, and sugar at a much cheaper price. In this episode, we take a deep dive into the glaring gaps that exist within this system. From thousands who are not able to use their ration cards and those that the system leaves out altogether, to problems within the shops that sell subsidized food grains and the changes that the system requires. For this, we first talk to Parthasarathi Biswas, who reports on agriculture and rural India for the Indian Express.
The public distribution system is the backbone in our fight against hunger. We have realized a large portion of our population would require subsidized food grains to make their ends meet. They might not be earning enough to afford the food grains that is available in the local market. So the government steps in through various means. And also the National Food Security Act of 2013 has mandated that no one should go hungry. Subsidized food grains should be made available to people based on their income. Now, the mechanism through which this is achieved is through the ration cards and the rationing system. That is the fair price shops. Ration cards are the documents issued by local revenue officers based on your income. Depending on your income, your ration card has a specific color, that is yellow, saffron, and white. Yellow and saffron receive subsidized food grains at various rates, while the white ration cards, they don't get any food grains.
A white ration card is issued to those that don't qualify for subsidized food. It is only a revenue document that proves your domicile, your permanent address.
Now, each district, city, and area is divided into micro wards. Every ward is given a fair price shop based on the population of people who would avail this system. And your ration card is attached to one of those FPS, that is a fair price shop.
Uttar Pradesh has the highest number of fair price shops in the country, around 72,000, followed by Maharashtra, which has around 52,000.
Now, the rationing system is the backbone and the main channel through which we distribute the food grains that the Food Corporation of India procures, and that is the main way in which we implement the National Food Security Act. Now, there are 2-3 things in the ration system, with some of them are good and some of them are archaic and needs to be looked into urgently. Let's talk about the good things first. It has managed to ensure the almost smooth implementation of the National Food Security Act, which has seen food grains at very subsidized rates, that is 2 rupees a kg rice, 3 rupees a kg wheat, being given to the poorest of the poor. So if you have noticed, India has made a lot of progress in its war against hunger, and the rationing system is to be credited for that. However, like all other systems, this has also become outdated.
Just like the decision of the nationwide lockdown, the public distribution system too seems to have failed to consider the fact that people migrate.
People migrate for work, people migrate for other reasons. Women are married off, they migrate to other states, other cities, other different parts. But the ration cards do not automatically migrate with them. How do you get a ration card? You have to apply with your local tehsildar, who is the taluka level, tehsil level, senior most revenue officer. Based on your income, you have to submit some documents for example, your area of residence, your Aadhaar card and other things. They determine the category under which you fall and they will issue you a ration card. The system is highly local and it is rigid. It does not have the flexibility of, say, a mobile number portability has. So the number that I'm using, I can use the same number in Delhi. I have to register myself with the Delhi circle of my service provider. But in the rationing system, you cannot do that. Say you are traveling from point A to point B for work or any other reason, you will have to go through a lengthy procedure at the rationing tehsildar's office to transfer your card from one circle to other circle. That is a lot of work, because when a migrant is traveling, and especially the ones who require the ration card, the documentation might not be in place. You would require your proof of residence, you would require your proof of something like an electricity bill and other things. And the ones who really require the ration card, they will not be able to. Say, if you are staying in a slum, who is going to give you a proof of residence? Your Aadhaar card is maybe, and your ration card and your Aadhaar card are maybe the only 2 documents that you have.
The total number of internal migrants in India, as per the 2011 census, is around 45 crore or 37% of the country's population. Most of them are unable to access their ration cards where they work. To give us an idea, Parthasarathi gives us the example of Mumbai.
So Mumbai, for example, sees more than 5 lakh migrants coming from various parts of the country and Maharashtra itself. Who are these migrants? These migrants are the invisible keys which turn the lock of that great city. They work in the wholesale markets, they work as porters, they work as manual laborers so that the whole city can survive. Do you think they transfer their ration card? Even if they want to, they cannot because the process is very difficult. They would be staying in some shanty, they would be staying in some temporary location which might not be even registered with the revenue officers. They might be staying in unauthorized colonies and there is no ways they can get proof of residence there. The only thing they would have is their old ration card and their Aadhaar card. They will not like to transfer their ration card from one district to other or one state to other because it involves a lot of paperwork. And also, once you take away the ration card from one district, it creates a question about domicile, whether you would be able to vote there, you will be able to do other things there. Many people don't want to do that. So when this lockdown came, the whole issue of migrants, their food security and their access to grains came up into the forefront. We saw those terrible heart-wrenching pictures of migrants starting to walk from Mumbai to their homes in distant Marathwada, some even near the railway station so that they could go back to Uttar Pradesh, to Bihar. Why? Because food was a main problem for them. When they work, they are assured of their daily bread. But when they are not working, there is no income. Although the authorities have made enough arrangements, or they say they have for feeding these migrants, there is really a lot of things that has to be done for that.
The other problem is that a lot of people are not counted within the public distribution system because it is still based on the 2011 census. Under the National Food Security Act, 75% of the population in rural areas and 50% of the population in the urban areas, which comes out to about 67% of the total population, are supposed to receive highly subsidized food grains.
Now, the catch in the situation is that population is calculated as per the 2011 census. Now, almost more than 10 years have passed since that census, and the new census is due this year. So, the pool that should receive the subsidized grain must have grown, but we have not identified them through the census.
And it's not just this new section of the population, migrant workers and women. There are others too that the system leaves out. For example, certain isolated tribes and the transgender community. Only yesterday, more than 2,000 transgender persons wrote to the Union Ministries of Home, Finance and Social Justice seeking a special package for the community which has no permanent sources of income. In the letter to the ministries, they wrote that a majority of transgender persons live in conditions of abject poverty, social exclusion, and eke out a living primarily through begging and sex work, both of which are avenues of work that entail public presence and physical contact. Now, it is keeping in mind the people who can't access their ration cards, particularly the migrant workers, that the Pune Zilla Parishad came up with a unique idea.
Ayush Prasad, who is the CEO of the Zilla Parishad, he thought about a temporary card which will allow these people to get food grains from the PDS system in a roundabout manner. So the scheme is something like this. It's called Sharat Bhojan Yojana, and the scheme is something like this. These people, the Zilla Parishad will be identifying the migrants who are in the Zilla Parishad areas. Now we have to remember Zilla Parishad is the governing body for rural parts of the district, while the municipal corporations and municipal councils are the ones who are in the urban parts of the district. So Zilla Parishad in its rural parts asks the village level police patil. Police patil is a village level officer. He or she represents the police force. They are honorary officers. They get around 3,000, 4,000 rupees for their work. They have to maintain registers of who has come into the village, who has gone out, what kind of disputes happen. So one of the registers that they maintain is that of people who have migrated to the village for work. So the police patil was asked to produce that register, and the migrants were asked to open an Aadhaar-linked bank account number. So how did they open the bank account number? Taking help of Aadhaar authentication and the biometric, they opened a bank account with the Indian Postal Bank. It takes less than a minute. That was the only authentication required.
Once this bank account was opened, the Zilla Parishad asked corporate and CSR NGOs to buy subsidized food grains from the Food Corporation of India, and they began distributing these food grains. Under the National Food Security Act, such NGOs can procure food grains from FCI, though the rates are a bit higher for them.
You may very well ask, what was the necessity to have the Aadhaar linked bank account? Well, that authenticated the person. Aadhaar is an universal number, and Indian Postal Bank is also an universal bank that is valid for across the country. With Aadhaar authentication, it was established that XYZ, who he or she claims to be, and that he or she would be benefiting from the Food Corporation of India's subsidized grains, which is going to be distributed by the Zilla Parishad. These people who were identified, either they didn't have ration card or they did not have access to their ration cards because it was from a different district or a different state. Rough estimates drawn up by the Zilla Parishad showed that Pune district alone, these are the rural pockets of the district, has around 80,000 such people. They are from around 14 states and around 12 districts in Maharashtra. They cannot access the ration PTS rights to because their ration cards are from outside Maharashtra or outside Pune, to be precise.
A home inspection was also done by a committee of 3 to find out whether the person can or cannot afford food grains. So far, approximately 60,000 people have got their bank accounts opened and the distribution of food grains has already started. So through this simple scheme, which involves Aadhaar authentication and the participation of CSR NGOs, one is able to ensure that food grains reach everyone, including the groups we mentioned earlier. Nobel laureates like Amartya Sen and Abhijit Banerjee and former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan have also suggested the use of temporary ration cards. Now, a number of public officials and labor unions from Maharashtra have asked the centre to implement the scheme on a nationwide level.
If the state government decides to take it up at the state level, then it would mean more allocation of food grains. Now, each Zilla Parishad will not be able to carry out this scheme. Why? Because Pune Zilla Parishad, as it is located in a very urbanized and very industrially developed district, it can have reach to the CSR NGOs, the ones who can buy the food grains for them. But for example, take the example of Usmanabad Zilla Parishad or say Washim Zilla Parishad. They would not be financially strong enough to sustain or buy the grains and give it to them. And they will not have reach towards the NGOs who can buy the grains for them and so that they can distribute. So for this reason, Neelam Gore and others are suggesting a state level committee be formed, which would include the officers and the people's representative from each district. And they would ask the CSR NGOs to donate, say, 1 or 2% of their CSR fund towards this common pool. And districts which would require financial help, they would be helped through this. There are also talks of this being replicated at the nationwide level, but a similar scheme that has started in India from January 1st, 2020, one ration card, one nation, one ration card. But I am not very sure about the progress of that scheme. But this sounds like a scheme which can really solve the problem of hunger to a large extent in the migrant population of the country.
So far, we have talked about the people that the public distribution system doesn't consider. But you can even face problems if you have a ration card and are trying to buy cheap grains through your local fair price shop. Once the lockdown started, the major challenge that the states have faced is how to feed its people. And one of the ways that the states have done that is through PDS. But deeply entrenched corruption has come in the way of that. This has been particularly visible in states like Jharkhand.
The corruption already exists in the system, and on a daily basis or on weekly basis, problems were always there.
That's Abhishek Angad, who reports on Jharkhand for the Indian Express.
People used to complain it to the block supply officer, marketing officer, and the problem used to get sorted after some point of time. There have been issues in the past, and where, like, let's say for lack of internet, many people couldn't get ration. The whole entire village couldn't get ration. But that was pre-COVID-19. Post-COVID-19, this fault line actually exacerbated the crisis that is there in Jharkhand. So suddenly we saw a lot of people complaining on social media with their card numbers, with their thumb impressions saying that we haven't received ration, number one. Number two, that if at all they got ration, then they got less. As of today, there are a lot of complaints that they're coming that they haven't received full ration, some certain complaints against dealers, which can be confirmed by this fact that till April 22, the government had actually registered FIR against 44 dealers and issued show cause notice to 540 dealers in the entire state. 297 dealers have also been suspended.
The fair price shops in the states are run by private dealers. In the past, as well as in the present, There have been many instances of the dealers taking grains for themselves. The state has seen a surge of complaints on the government's helpline number regarding this. Its neighboring state, Bihar, is also seeing similar instances of corruption by dealers.
See, one of the biggest problem around this private dealership is these are private dealers. They'll always tend to seek profit. So within this system, since the introduction of EPOS machines, it's been difficult for them to do away with some ration.
EPOS means electronic point of sales, an automated system where the beneficiaries can get their ration by getting their fingerprints matched at the EPOS machines. Now, Abhishek points out that for dealers, their dealerships do not end up sustaining their households.
For example, that there's a dealer who gets 100 quintal of ration every month for its cardholder. So now 100 quintal means that there will be 10,000 kgs of rice. Now the dealer will get commission that the people will pay to them. Let's say, for example, 1 rupee per kilo, that is in Jharkhand. So technically, the dealers who are supposed to get rupees 10,000 per month, if he's only surviving his family through dealership, then he will get 10,000 a month. But that's not over.
According to the dealers that Abhishek spoke to, they also end up paying about 1,000 rupees to the transporters who bring in the grain, the driver, and the laborers who offload the grains. This payment is done so that things run smoothly. This is illegal, of course.
So these people get 1,000 rupees. He's left with 9,000 now. Now the dealer says that I also employ 2 more laborers at his shop. So now he pays 2,000 each to them. Now that comes out to 5,000. Now he says that between 4,000 and 5,000, and there are some operating costs also for the shop. So between 4,000 and 5,000 rupees is his average income. So that becomes technically impossible for him to sustain his family. So that's why every dealer, most of the dealers everywhere in Jharkhand, they'll have a separate business that they'll do. So I just spoke to one of the mukhias in Bihar. He was suggesting that either there has to be a system where there has to be a fixed component of the salary subject to be reviewed by how he delivers ration to the people. But unless one does it, it's not possible. But there's also a cross argument counter to it. If you make a fixed component, there are poor people who won't get ration. So ultimately, it leads to a discussion: are private dealers good enough for delivering or giving rice, which is part of social security net?
Dealers also complain that at times they don't get enough grains in the first place. The government has so far issued show-cause notices and warnings to the dealers, telling them that this is a time of crisis and they should not engage in any form of corruption. But to avoid this situation, Jharkhand Food Commission has recommended that the state follows the example of Chhattisgarh and Odisha.
Now, what is Odisha doing is, Odisha delivers its grains through panchayats. At every panchayat, there is a panchayat executive officer where he's a government employee. His sole job is to ensure procurement from FCI godowns and to allow it to distribute within the panchayat. The panchayat may hire someone who from their own fund pays them, but the distribution is smooth. Not entire Odisha is covered, but around 75% of the population where there's much need for rice and everything. So there, the system works. So this is what Odisha has done. Now, Jharkhand's food minister, Rameshwar Orao, I had a conversation with him and I spoke to him that there are a lot of problems that the dealers are coming through. So he suggested that post the lockdown, the government will find out the best practices within the country and try to emulate whatever suits them.
There is no particular shortage of wheat or rice in India right now. The problem is how to get it to the people.
The government, that is the Food Corporation of India and state government agencies, they procure about 80 million tons of grain every year.
That's Harish Damodaran, Indian Express's rural affairs editor.
Which is roughly, say, about 35 million tons of wheat and, say, about 45 million tons of rice. So every year you are procuring about 80 million tons. But the offtake, that is the grain that goes out after the grain that comes in, the grain that goes out, the offtake is around about 60 million tons every year. So that means every year you are building up an excess stock of 20 million tons. So that is how now you have come to a position where you have about totally around something like 74 million tons of wheat and rice, whereas the requirement is only about, say, 21 million tons. So basically you have about 3.5 times the normative minimum buffer stock, which is required to be maintained.
And one of the reasons that we now have so much excess reserve is not because there aren't enough ration shops, but it is because of what we talked about in the beginning of the episode. The migrant workers who can't access these grains because of the system being localized.
And that is exactly what we have seen in the case of these migrants, right? I mean, the migrants suddenly were left with no money because they had lost their jobs. And at the same time, apart from losing jobs, suddenly they had no access to grain, simply for the fact that they are staying here, whereas their ration cards are back home, whether it is in Bihar or in UP. So that is a reason. So looking forward, what the government needs to do is, already there's been a proposal, of making ration cards sort of portable. Something like you have an ATM card, right? I mean, with an ATM card, you can withdraw money anywhere, right? I have, for example, not been to my HDFC bank branch ever. It's somewhere in Safdarjung Enclave. I've never been there, but I withdraw money from any ATM, right? So similarly, I think probably there is definitely a case for a PDS holder to be able to withdraw her or his grain anywhere, from any ration shop. And if you do that, probably the offtake will go up. So one thing is to make the PDS, the cards portable. The other thing, I think now there is a need definitely for a universal PDS for at least the next 2 years. What the government has done is give an additional 10 million tons for April, May, June, that period. Whereas looking ahead, I think the need for some kind of a universal PDS, the people who don't want it, they will not stand in queue. I mean, as simple as that. You and I are not going to buy rice or wheat from a PDS shop, right? So try to make it as inclusive as possible. So by making it portable and also by making it universal, to the extent possible. Already under the NFSA, that is the National Food Security Act, that already technically covers about 75% of the rural population and 50% of the urban population. So maybe you can have it as an NFSA plus and try and cover as much population as possible. And then you allow them to withdraw grain. Say, suppose my entitlement is, say, 35 kgs per month. I should be able to withdraw from anywhere in a month till that limit of whatever 35 kg, So whether I withdraw it in my hometown, whether I withdraw it in my place of work, anywhere, So basically I should be able to access any ration shop. So that ration shop is like an ATM counter, right? So just like I can withdraw money from any ATM counter, the PDS beneficiary should be able to withdraw his grain within that 35 kg limit per month from any ration shop, whether that ration shop is in Mumbai, anywhere, I think that is the way forward. And once you do that, then in that case, then you won't build up these kind of stocks, 74 million tons, which is just not sustainable, and there's no harm if the offtake were to improve further, It's definitely better than, say, exporting this grain away, At some point, it may be necessary to even sell off this excess grain, export it. And we actually did it, in 2002, 2003, during that period. A lot of our wheat and our rice was actually sold as chicken feed. And just like the government is now talking of, old rice, you use it for supplying to distilleries, for making liquor or maybe even hand sanitizers. So definitely, I think rice and wheat have better uses than for these kind of things. You can call them whatever, perverse uses.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show, as always, was edited and mixed by our producer, Joshua Thomas. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.